Hello friends! One of the most dispiriting and regrettably necessary Twitter accounts is UK Aesthetics, as it just seems to chronicle the slow degradation of Britain as we are forced to just endure the mass change of the country and the degradation of its standards before our very eyes. And the other day, this one went fairly viral, getting about 500,000 impressions, of a children's TV show called Blue Peter. Now, I'm not sure how well known Blue Peter is outside of the UK, outside of Britain, but it's actually the oldest children's television programme that's still running, and it was started in 1958 originally, and it's been one of those things that generations upon generations of British children have known for a very, very long time now. And I suppose what's significant about that as well is the fact that it means that it's one of those television shows that we still have that is a hangover from the old Britain, old England, that has survived into the modern era. And fundamentally, you can see before our eyes the change in it. And so we're going to play this short little clip from a recent episode, and then we'll talk about it.
They're so powerful that we can actually use them to smash this glass.
No. Oh, wait.
Hey, that sounds like a matching skill.
How is this all possible?
Danny, can you get that little ting for me?
Yeah, of course, brother.
Now, that noise, yeah, that's called a resonant frequency.
Okay.
Now, if we match that frequency using that mic and play the sound through that speaker, we can create enough sound vibrations to mash up that glass.
Okay, but why has he got a straw in there for? Will you take a little sip or something?
No, we're not sipping that in today.
Okay.
So the sound vibrations is going to cause that straw to move around. And when it's
Okay.
moving, that's how we know we hit the right frequencies, you know what I'm saying?
We might have to call in the experts for this. Theo, you are a professional opera singer, right? So this means you should be pitch perfect.
I do my best.
Manny, remind Theo what the note is he has to hit.
This is the resonant frequency.
You got that, Theo? Go
Match
ahead.
that, match that.
You can do this. Okay, let's all count Theo in. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go! It's vibrating. It's vibrating. Wow! Theo!
Not gonna lie, that frequency actually kind of got me in the ear. But anyway, so you can see the absolute state of it. And the thing is that, of course, criticism of this leads to people like Paul Embry asking, well, what's actually wrong with it? I'm not sure why some people are sneering at this clip, though I suspect there are some snobbish accentism at play. I see two young lads proudly displaying their Blue Peter badges, teaching some kids about sound waves. Good luck to them. All right, well, let's begin to talk about some of the things that are actually wrong with this clip then, shall we? First of all, it's a British TV show, and where are all the British children? Right, this is one of the things that is immediately obvious, just the actual people in front of your eyes. Oddly enough, I don't know, where this particular opera singer is from, but I find it staggering that obviously, in order to get an opera singer, they have to, one from the few institutions that is still predominantly manned by Europeans. But in terms of the accents as well, let's talk about the accents, because actually I, being self-aware, know that I shouldn't really be throwing stones with this, having something of a mongrel accent myself, spending a lot of time down south, but being from the north myself. And so I have quite a strange accent of my own. However, the words I use are British words, and I fundamentally try to say them with traditional British patterns of speech. And you can see here that these two chaps who are presenting here obviously have let's just say, more Caribbeanisms in their speech, and so therefore these are not British ways of speaking. It is a cultural import. When he says about, if I scroll down actually, on this one here, you can see it's that sound like a mad ting skill. Perfect English, seamless, traditional. And so it's one of those things that you can also tell from the actual children themselves, that when I said earlier about the fact that British school children have watched Blue Peter for generations upon generations, when you see a picture like that, you all of a sudden understand what the future of Britain is going to look like, because that, right there in that picture, the caption and the character, is the future of Britain staring at you in the face. That thing that, obviously, I must stress, is not happening. Okay, it's not happening, but there it is. So one of the things as well that's also worth mentioning is the fact that actually it's not even the question of accentism, right? Because if I were to go to here, I pulled out a clip from Blue Peter back in 1968, and I'm only just going to play you a small fraction of this, but just listen to this man.
Keep up with the latest inventions on Blue Peter, and I've got something here that may well turn out to be the kitchen of the future, because in this one row is everything you could possibly need for a labour-saving kitchen, including the food.
So you can just tell from those few 14 seconds that that man there, that Englishman, does not have what you would call a received pronunciation accent, right? He doesn't have the Queen's English. He has a Yorkshire accent. However, all of the way that he speaks is traditionally English. He's not throwing in jargon and slang and all of these sorts of things. He is being presentable. And fundamentally, this is important because obviously Blue Peter is, in part, an educational program. You can tell there they were explaining in the previous clip the science behind the frequency that would smash the glass. But when we talk about children's television and we talk about, stressing the importance of who they see on TV, what we're really driving at is role models, because of course so much of education and who we are and what we perceive to be cool or what we perceive to be classic is done by imitation. And so we imitate the things that we see around us. And so if children are growing up with this in front of them, this current UK Blue Peter, then those children will imitate it. And what we see there is a degradation of standards, not only in the attire and the way that they dress, dressing like they've just been, at the racetrack or something, or at the gym, which is just not suitable for television because, again, it's just a degradation of that in all times and all places. There is no distinction between being presentable for television and being presentable for, well, just about anything else, really. And so it's really just very sad to see all of this happening. And you can see here, I realize I'm flitting between these clips, but just to give the difference between them, if you see here, he's dressed perfectly presentably. Sure, it's not a three-piece suit, and, if you notice, when you look at television, it's really towards the end of the 60s that the more traditional sense of dress gave way to a much more free individual sense of self-expression, shall we say, and certainly by the 70s that was becoming very obvious. But it's just really demoralizing to see this happening to Blue Peter. And of course, there's no sense of quality control with these sorts of things. No one at the BBC, because this is Blue Peter is broadcast on CBBC, which is the children's station of the BBC. There's no sense of quality control. There's no sense of trying to put forward the best possible version of some aspiration of what you should be. There is just slop. There is just the most London, UK-centred types of people. And fundamentally, that children can just watch that and imitate it, and that's fine. You needn't ever aspire to anything more than that. If you try to self-improve, if you try to work on the way that you speak or the way that you dress, you don't need to do those things. Those things are unnecessary. It is unnecessary to aspire to be more, because you can go like that and you can talk about mad things and you can say all of these sorts of things and dress that way. And fundamentally, you can still have a long career in children's television, educating tomorrow's youth. And so it's very, very dispiriting. And it's one of the reasons why I personally would just always encourage people to dress as well as they can, dress in a way that gives you confidence and in a way that is rooted in tradition. And I would also, myself included, I'm constantly working on how well I speak, how I put myself forward, and how I'm perceived by others. And so I would just stress that, yes, do not be the Englishman that the UK wants you to be.